Hello, folks. Welcome to the batch of 2018. On behalf of all my colleagues, I want to lay out the red carpet for you today. You're all special people, and the reason you have chosen this is obviously a very special one. And we are so delighted to have you all here. I'm quite disappointed with the turnout because we are supposed to have 120 freshers altogether, and barely 70 or 75 of them are present here today. So something is seriously wrong with the outlook of some of the newly joined students who are either taking it easy or have other distractions. So I hope that's not the case as we move forward, because this is a very rigorous program, and absenteeism is one of the banes of university life, especially undergraduates. Absenteeism becomes a kind of a habit that is very hard to kick and overcome. So hopefully you're all going to be there for the commencement, which is happening on the 2nd, that's day after tomorrow. And we should have a full house by then. But for those who are here, congratulations. Some of you have spoken to me, and so in some cases, parents have spoken to me. But this is the first time I'm seeing all of you. So, welcome, and I'm sure you have chosen this path because you're motivated by some larger principles and ideals. So I just wanted to lay out for you today my thoughts on why we should be studying international affairs, which of course is your path. Each of you would have made up your minds based on some calculations and assumptions and visions. But all of us are students. Professors are also students of this field. We continue to be learners, humble learners, and we are often confounded by the real world. So none of us is really an expert in that sense, because we all continue to respond and catch up with what is really happening out there. And for example, just to give you one example, I wrote a book on the global economic crisis in 2013, and I had not foreseen the rise of this right-wing populism that's become very, very dominant in Western countries in the last 2 to 3 years. Right? Although it is a byproduct of the economic crisis. So we are all, caught unawares by the complexity of the real world, and the most we can do is to try and get what we call an analytical handle over these issues. And that's the purpose. I think that's the primary purpose of studying international affairs. Simply to be able to explain what is already happening, rather than to be able to predict what might happen. Social scientists, most of us, have a kind of a, hubris that we can actually predict the future. But 99% of the time we are wrong and we fail. So in the social sciences, we do have some laws or generalizable principles. But even there are so many examples that contradict the generalized laws and principles. How many of you have done science before in high school or in college? Can I have a show of hands, please? As in natural science, physical science? Yeah. So we also follow some scientific notions and generalizations, but unlike the hard sciences, in the social sciences and the humanities, you will find that most of the time we can make at most what we call probabilistic predictions, meaning there is a possibility it might happen or it may not, right? So why do we then study it if we can't mold the future or shape the future? I think it is simply to explain and understand what is currently happening, which in itself is a big service. Why are these things happening right now? For example, mass atrocities. uh, even if we are unable to find solutions to them, why are they happening? And what should have been done to prevent them? That itself, I think, is enough, because there are many, unlike you, who are not even thinking about those. Right? So, we are here because we have a conscience about many things. We believe in big causes. We're driven by some kind of idealism to serve the society or broader communities beyond our own. So that should be the driving factor, right? So I hope you have that bigger purpose in mind. When you're doing a regression analysis in a statistics class, or when you're reading about, I don't know, Aristotle's poetics or something like that, you may not see the connection between that and ending the war in Syria, or stopping the new protectionist wave that is sweeping the world. But there is a connection because you are equipping yourself with the analytical tools to be able to articulate the solutions, if not the predict the future. So, what are the big problems of today, which are not necessarily concerning only our society or our country alone, but of the global community? What are the big problems? Can I have some of you throw up one phrase, one-liners? Yes. Pardon? Poverty? Yeah, but interestingly, the World Bank and the international organizations say that poverty is declining very fast globally. And if you see the global statistics from 1990, end of the Cold War, to now, about 27, 28 years, almost 3 decades, poverty has halved. It's only 10 to 12% globally. In India, it may be 25 to 30%, although there are some disputes about how we measure it. Yeah, it remains one. Other problems? Yeah? Okay, migration, population movements, yeah? Climate change, that's not going in a positive direction but in a negative way, right? That's one of the biggest ones, yeah? Yeah, so wars and abuses continue. In fact, they've increased in the last few years. Yeah? Economic crisis. Yeah, there's a kind of a rebound since 2008, but now the trade protectionism and so on are major crises. Yeah? Yeah, which is linked to the environmental crisis in a way. Yes. Pardon? Bigotry? Yeah, maybe populism and intolerance for minorities and such things. Yes.
Rising populism and nationalism and.
Can you speak up louder, please?
Rising populism and nationalism.
Yeah, nationalism and the threat to international institutions and multilateral process. Yes, that's a good one. Yes.
So viral disease.
Yeah.
Viral.
Epidemics. Yeah, Ebola was a major crisis. Public health. Yeah. Okay, I don't know statistically if it is rising, but yes, there are parts of the world where you have large-scale transnational groups like ISIS. Yes. Any other views on what are the other big global problems?
The issue
Yeah.
of Antarctica or Arctic, where they are like becoming resource hubs and like countries are fighting over who is going to.
Yeah, so geopolitical competition, it may not necessarily be a problem, but yes, in some cases it leads to ugly rivalries and military build-ups, tension and war, even possibly war. So yes, geopolitical rivalries have made a sort of a comeback. Yes?
Data piracy and fake news.
Yeah, so this whole information warfare that is going on is indeed confounding some of our basic assumptions, right? For example, you can't be sure what is democracy if Cambridge Analytica helps you to fix elections, right? Yeah. Yeah, so bigotry, discrimination, they're linked. Yes, oppressive structures, yes. By the way, there is an institution in Australia that tallies contemporary slavery, 21st century slavery, and they claim that close to 40 million people in the year 2018 are living in different forms of slavery. I'm trying to remember the name. It's a foundation in Australia. They just come up with a report last week.
Walk Free.
Yeah?
Walk Free Foundation.
Walk Free. Thank you so much. We have a visiting student from Australia and he knows this. Walk Free Foundation. So what do you mean by contemporary forms of slavery? Bonded labor, people who are captive to human smuggling, other forms of, servitude, especially in agriculture, in feudal systems, and so on. Migrants who are trafficked, all these things. So it's different from maybe your notion of slavery, let's say in the American South in the 19th century, but still a kind of slavery. So few problems, I'm just outlining these, there are probably some more pressing ones. Yeah, any more?
Hunger, like 1 in 12 children in Africa are still
Okay,
dying
malnutrition,
alive.
it's linked to poverty. Yeah, that's linked to, yeah, any other?
The fundamentalisms of fundamental.
Yeah, so bigotry has been covered.
Nuclear weapons and very less deterrence.
Nuclear weapons proliferation. Yeah, I guess, yeah.
And very less deterrence.
Less deterrence. I'm not sure about it. There are only 8 or 9 countries with nuclear weapons capabilities today. It has not risen. Kennedy, JFK prophesied in 1961 that by the end of the century there would be 30 or 40 nuclear weapon states. Today we still have 9, I think, if you include North Korea, or 8 or 9. Yeah? Okay. Political instability, maybe. Any others we missed?
So Thucydides trap.
Okay, that's a geopolitical rivalry. That's the same thing, right? Thucydides trap is nothing but the tussle between rising and declining powers. So we've already covered that. Any others? Show of hands? Yeah.
Border disputes.
Pardon?
Border disputes.
Border disputes, okay, territorial conflicts. I don't think they are particularly pressing today than, let's say, 30 or 40 years ago. Contemporary major problems. Any others we missed? Yeah? Okay, regional crises continue. We've been talking about war in general. I'm asking you to think very abstractly and generally. Like, now you don't have to tell me that, there's a tussle between Iran and Saudi Arabia. I mean, don't go that specific. Yeah?
There's a lot of pressure of work on people nowadays.
Pressure on?
Work of people. There's a lot of pressure of work on people nowadays. Like they don't have time for themselves.
Interesting. Yeah, I guess, maybe it's a global problem. I mean, in countries like Japan and South Korea, you have overwork and suicides, which are very high in East Asia due to overwork. Yeah.
Oil.
Pardon?
We still continue to be ruled by oil company, and oil influences like.
Okay, the energy. So that's linked to the environmental crisis, right? We are still fossil fuel dependent. Okay, any more? Trade wars, the protectionism, we have mentioned that. Yeah?
So failing global treaties.
Okay, that's the general crisis. The rise of nationalism is linked to that, right? The decline of multilateralism. Yeah? Any more? Cyber insecurity. Yeah, we've spoken about information warfare. It is part of that. Any others? Yeah?
The constant power struggle between global hegemons resulting in differences between realities and realities.
Yeah, so that is the geopolitical rivalry we spoke about, right? And that they are arising again. Yeah, any others?
Increase in artificial intelligence.
Is that a crisis?
Yes, because today is like in today's world, yes, artificial intelligence is good, it's increasing. You need math. Because math is something that is now in our conflict. The conflict between math is more important and because of artificial intelligence is rising. It's making life more difficult for people on the earth.
Okay, automation is generally predicted to be a major threat to employment in the next 20 years. And that will displace probably 30% of employees at today's skill levels. The and also robotic warfare could be more devastating. Okay, I think we have a sample. Yeah, any others? Any last one? Yeah?
Inequality.
Equality?
Inequality.
Inequality. Yeah, so that's true. That's true. That's been one of the major issues of the last 2 decades, 3 decades. Globalization is directly correlated with increasing income inequalities within societies and in some cases between countries. Although in some cases actually the inequality is reduced between countries because of globalization. But yes, if you take the unit as people rather than nation states, inequality has increased across the world. We are indeed living in one of the most unequal times in terms of concentration of wealth. So we've identified so many problems, and the reason I just took this list was for you to think about how your pursuit of these degree programs here, BA Global Affairs, MA DLB, will enable you to tackle some of these major challenges, or at least explain why they are so. You know, problem solving, people talk about it, but frankly, I see a dearth of problem solving on all these issues. There are no, I mean, on paper there may be some ideas about, for example, climate change. I was just reading the latest Foreign Affairs. There's a wonderful article about why this whole carbon pricing, cap and trade, carbon taxing, all of these have failed. These are so-called genius ideas to solve climate change and to reduce carbon emissions. Capping and trading, emissions control, the carbon taxing, all the examples have failed across the world. EU, China, some states of the US, Canada, everywhere it has failed. And the author is saying, well, the thing is, don't be lulled into complexity that now we are fighting climate change because we got a Paris Accord. And he's showing that since the Paris Accord was signed, Ambassador Mohan Kumar is here, and he served, he was our ambassador to France at the time. He was leading this effort. The reality is, from an environmental point of view, it's getting worse and worse. And we are all scratching our heads, you know. We don't really have that kind of ideal solution, or even if we do, it's purely theoretical and it's not getting implemented in policy. So the point is, we have so many such challenges, and I hope you think about at that level. Every time you're frustrated with your studies, or you're not doing well in some course or the other, or somehow you feel, you know, why should I learn about, why should I learn about the Reformation in 15th century Europe? What does this have to do with global warming? Well, there is the link. There is a link between everything, what we call interconnectedness of phenomena. So if you are able to grasp this interconnectedness of phenomena, if you are able to make the connections between cause and consequence, if you are able to say, this is linked to that, that's half the job. This is the social science. It's the link between variables. Something changes here, it will have an impact on something else, right? So the more you think, the more you learn and read and acquire knowledge here in the next 2 or 3 years. Do we have any PhD students in the audience? None? I think we have admitted a few, but I don't see any one of them. So you are in a way preparing yourself for, you know, these frustrating times where many things are happening against our will or our best wishes, and we seem helpless and clueless how to solve these problems. So I think you will feel more empowered by doing international studies. You'll feel like you have a grasp over the material, over the readings. You listen to our faculty, our wonderful guest speakers, participate in our events. We've got here so much to stimulate your brains. Our student society, student council has a club called Diplomania, and they have events around international issues where I hope you'll all participate. Prachi, when is it? October? October, we have a series of events lined up focused on a fun way of learning and thinking about international issues. So it's like you have a plate full now, and I hope that you will stay hungry and keep on wanting to acquire more and more. And I will advise all of you to go beyond textbooks and assigned readings. First thing, of course, is to do your assigned reading. That's your basic duty. But I would expect that you go beyond it and do a lot more. Meet faculty outside class, in their offices, learn more about them, join research centers, support the work that's going on in research centers, support our journal. Professor Pankaj Jha is the editor of our journal. I would want especially MA students to join the team for editing and for soliciting new contributions. So intellectually, I think it's a very, very satisfying place if you have that bent of mind. If you're here simply thinking, what job am I going to get after 2 or 3 years? I think you're going to miss out on the journey of becoming, these so-called versatile international affairs professionals that I talk about. So, careers, of course, are important. Why are you doing this? You also have a practical goal. What after 2 years or what after 3 years? And there's plenty on that front. Today, you're going to hear from our career office. And later this month, we're going to have a full day-long thing on internships and final placements and such things. I hope you have seen some of the videos we put out of our alumni, as well as of our summer schools. Have you all seen those? Have they been circulated? If you haven't, please go to the JGU YouTube page and get a glimpse of it. On that note, let me conclude by saying that even though we are students of JSIA, I think the larger identity we have is of belonging to this university. And now we have 7 schools or 8 schools. I lost the count. Do you have 7 schools or 8 schools? 8 schools? 8 schools. So we are 1 out of 8. This year there are 2 new ones, banking and finance and design and architecture. So, and actually we are a minority compared to most of the early schools. We are, I would say, like a middling sort in numbers. Yeah? So, we are like a middle power. If you want a international affairs analogy, we are not a great power, not yet, like India. So, the point is, there is a China and a USA here. Okay, that's the USA, you can interchangeably, one is called JGLS, Jindal Global Law School, the other is called JGBS, Jindal Global Business School. These are like the big guns on this campus. And then JSI is somewhere in the middle in terms of numbers. I'm proud to report that we have crossed the 300 mark with all of you coming in and net minus the ones who are graduating this week on the 7th of August. We are going to be approximately 301 or more students. And that's a phenomenal thing if you think about it. There's no institution in this part of the world exclusively dedicated to international affairs with 300 plus students and 24 full-time faculty. This is the largest in South Asia, I presume, in terms of numbers. So, and partly the reason for that is because we have a large BA cohort. And we were the innovators and we did the BA program, we were the first to do it. If you had confined yourself only to Masters and PhD, which most of the traditional universities have done, both in India and in our region, you would, at any given time not have more than 100 or 150 students. So the reason we are 300 in total across all batches is because we have this full so-called cradle to grave lineup from bachelor's to PhD. But the point is, we should take pride in some of these things and have a sense of ownership and belonging to the School of International Affairs, but not isolate ourselves into silos. So please mingle with the Chinas and the USAs and the Chiles and the Venezuelas also. Okay, There are some very new schools that are really small, and so, think of yourselves as, if there is a strange concept at the UN called the sovereign equality of all nations. It has less meaning in effect than in principle, which means obviously China is a giant and Chile is like a Lilliput, but in the UN, at least in the General Assembly, each has one vote, and in most of the bodies except the Security Council, they are considered sovereign equals. So school of architecture or school of public policy or any of the other smaller ones are no less or no more than you are. So please make friends across all schools. Do not inculcate this in-group values, which mean that we are a tight knit and we don't mix with the others and we have a tussle with them and we are in rivalry with them. There was a time when the intramural sports competitions on campus were on the basis of batches, and it led to some bad blood, and we had since then prevailed that there's no way, even in the name of healthy competition or fun, we cannot have, for example, a swimming competition between JSIA and JSGP. We would rather want hostel-based and other criteria, or maybe batch-based and like bachelors and masters, that sort of thing, rather than narrow rivalries. For your information, at the level of faculty, we don't have such rivalries, and that's one of the unique things about this university. Many of you, as you move into year 1 or year 2 or semester 2, will be taking elective courses in other schools, and that's the big advantage of this university. So out of 4,100 or 200, I can't remember the estimated total number of this university, 300 of us, we have immense avenues to engage in cross-disciplinary learning. And some of our faculty already do that. For example, Professor Nicholas Dizamarovsky, who is the student affairs and one of the student affairs deans, has taught an elective with Professor Upasana Mahanta, who is a professor in the law school, together. And where the students enrolled include those from different schools. So that's the kind of innovative thing that happens here, based on your interests. So you could do electives in other schools. Our academic deans will orient you about it. There's a lot of choice here, and you are in many ways confused or spoiled for choice because there are too many electives across the university. But my only advice would be, especially master students, but also bachelors, to start thinking about trying to concentrate more and more in one issue area or one region of the world. One of you said Middle East conflict. Well, that's just, so if you have a specific focus on a particular region, could be our own region, could be further away. We have centers, we have experts on different regions of the world, and I hope you will all be able to learn more about those. I often find I'm always surprised by how little I know about any region of the world, including our own neighborhood. We have a series of winter schools and summer schools. We've been trying to organize one in Nepal, and to my great shock and surprise, the number of students who subscribe to those is so minimal that we could not run those programs in previous years. I hope we also think about where we are in South Asia and the broader Asia as well, and Africa and Latin America. These are regions where you would not have learned a lot from your school or college curricula, even if you had studied these subjects. There's a huge dearth of understanding of Africa and Latin America in our school and college curriculum. Even the IB, have some of you come through the IB system? Can I have a show of hands? Yeah? I very much doubt if you've really studied Latin America or Africa in any depth. So this is the place to, in many ways, unlearn and to shed some of the old baggage and to look at everything with a fresh light. All I can promise is, on behalf of our faculty, none of us is going to impose our will or our viewpoints on you. We want you all to be free-thinking, independent young scholars, make up your own mind on any problem or any issue. And we have never had a situation in this university where we have tried to penalize or punish students because they are from right or left or center. In fact, we encourage them as long as they are able to marshal their arguments along with facts and with empirical evidence. Right? So, if you just to give you an example, if you think that Trump is the vehicle for American decline and retrenchment in the world, that's a good view. If you think that Trump is actually reviving American power through his own way and will ensure that America remains ahead of China, that may also be a valid view. If you think that none of this is true and actually Trump is a evil symbol of some sinister forces, maybe so. Or if you think that Trump is a correction, a course correction to excessive liberalism and all this multiculturalism, maybe so. There are no definitive yeses or nos, and we are not going to discourage you from arguing. So please develop those skills. I think if you do massive reading and develop argumentation skills, you are a success in this kind of program. If you're not used to doing massive reading, please attune yourself quickly to it. There's going to be so much reading given to you, but that's healthy and I think that's necessary. That's how you will be able to hold your own in class, in debate, in argumentation. Yeah. So I think it's an endless saga, this social science, everything is contested. So you need to have strong debating skills. I often say that international studies like academic debating without any kind of prizes to be won. You know, some of you, how many of you participated in MUNs? Good. How many of you have done debating in college or high school? Good. Now, you've done all that with an eye on winning some prizes and on, in a mock simulated setting. We also have an MUN society, but what I'm saying is, imagine yourself in a continuous debating or a MUN competition from day one until end of year 3. It's that kind of place here, and I hope that, and there's no end goal in the sense, I want to get the gold medal or the silver medal. It's simply about making yourself better and better at argumentation and articulation. Yeah, and both verbal and writing. This is another thing you have in your courses, especially BA students, something called a writing seminar to start with in the very first semester, right? The very first semester? Yeah. And the reason for that is because some of you, even from the best of schools with the most outstanding argumentation skills and debating skills, do not necessarily write well. As faculty, we feel like something as basic as breaking an essay into paragraphs, having a segue between one paragraph and another paragraph, concluding to reinforce the introduction, making a point right at the introduction. All these are such basics in writing, in academic writing. Citations, how to cite, how to avoid plagiarism and cheating, academic integrity issues. All these, I find that even the best trained students do not have these. So that's the reason you have this course, and please take that seriously, because that will really help you set up. It's like a foundational thing for all other courses. So writing is very, very critical here. And those of you, how many of you have done science or commerce in 11th and 12th? Quite a few. So you may not have actually gotten used to writing long essays, right? So it may take you a semester or so to get used to this style of social science. But it's not a rocket science. You can do it, provided you take the academic writing course very seriously. There is also a writing center on the campus to which you can take samples of your assignments before submitting them for another eye and for another vetting. So these kind of things, there are so many resources here apart from the physical infrastructure that I hope you can all capitalize on. And end of the day, we are all in it because of the love of this field. We should all be passionate about it. If some of you are saying I enrolled in global affairs, but maybe I want to do um, an MBA or law later on in life. Fine. But maybe you will change your mind as you move forward. Maybe you will get so engrossed in international issues that you'll think differently by the time you finish in 3 or 2 years. To master students, I will simply say that you have a very long succession of batches. This is the 8th batch of MADLB, if I'm not wrong, from 2011, counting from 2011, and so many seniors, so many alumni, and generally master students are far more organized in terms of their time, in terms of their attitude to academics. For bachelors, I will say please organize your time better. Please manage your time. Too many distractions can destroy your academic career. And there are no shortcuts at the university level. Some of you may have been used to doing well in high school based on being glib, outspoken and smart, quote unquote intelligent. That's not enough here. You have to do a lot of reading and a lot of responding in class, a lot of assignments. 5 courses, BA, all of you have 5 courses, plus a diplomacy seminar, plus a language. That's almost like 7 courses in a week. 7 or more classes in a week. Plus, what you do beyond class time is really, I think that's the crunch, it's going to make all the difference. Whether you can really use your time productively, use our library resources, use our e-journals, read beyond the textbooks, meet faculty and ask them for more in-depth understanding of what is going on in different regions of the world. So, university is like a crucible, they say. The point of entry and the point of exit in between is what is really going to shape you all. And I hope that you are thinking about it that way. That the moment you cross this gate here and have come in, it's like you entered this crucible. And I've always noted with pride how much of a difference there is between those who enter and those who leave. And when I see the faces of graduating students this August, on 7th of August, we have convocation for the graduating students, and I still remember, when they had set foot 3 years ago or 2 years ago. And what a transformation it has been. The best students are those who have really allowed themselves to be transformed. Instead of saying, I don't know what I want to do. Maybe I've just enrolled because my mom or dad told me or somebody told me this is a good course, but I'm not so sure whether international studies is my cup of tea. You're going to struggle if you don't have that passion for it. So if you already have it, great. If you don't, try to develop it soon. Don't be over anxious about grades and performance from day 1 or from first week. But definitely by the end of first semester, we expect that all of you are like in a upward learning curve and getting better and better. I see the difference with students semester to semester, year to year, entry to exit. So that should be the trajectory of transformation that we all expect from you as teachers. Okay, so please be inspired, think about big issues, and welcome all of you again, and I hope to see all of you individually as well through appointment. Thank you very much. God bless.
Hello everyone. So we are going to have a short introduction of Student Council. So here 3 members of us are here. You must have seen me running all around the past 2 days, especially for undergraduate students. I was part of Buddy Project, and my name is Prachi, and I'm newly elected JSS Student Council President. He's Raghav.
A very good morning, everyone. My name is Raghav Kakkar, and I'm currently the Cultural Secretary of the JSIS Student Council for the year 2018 to 19.
Hello everyone, a very warm welcome to all of you. My name is Uwais Rizvi. I'm from MADLB second year. I'm Vice President of JSI Student Council.
So There's one more member from JSS Student Council. He's quite busy. He's Madhav. He's your General Secretary. So we all four of us are here for you. So if you have any problems from DCs, from academic issues to any student life issues, we are here for you. We'll be soon sharing contact details with you. You'll soon receive an email. We'll brief you about how to go about further in JSI, how to go about in JGU, and we have lined up few cultural events as well. So Raghav will tell you about.
I hope all of you have a really warm stay here in the Jindal School of International Affairs. The culture at the Jindal School of International Affairs is such which is really inclusive in nature, and we have a lot of activities which go on all throughout the year. There are a lot of cultural based activities, especially coming from the research centers that are placed in JSI itself. Now, this particular amalgamation of all these cultures and events which are happening makes it a really progressive place for you to come in and participate in these events. A few of the events that we're having, for instance, are a JSI MUN next year, a youth conclave in October, which is a series of events lined up by the Diplomania Society that we have, which was founded by students itself. So there is a lot in store for you. I hope I get to meet more of you personally, and we can start working on the same. Thank you.
We have also planned an ice-breaking session for you guys at 9 o'clock. It's going to happen here. We're all MADLB seniors, and all the BA students, seniors, everyone will be here so that we know each other together and know who you are. Who you can throw questions to us. You can ask whatever you want to know about. And also, I would like OS to tell you about how you need to go ahead with the Student Disciplinary Act. Okay, so so in the evening we'll discuss more about how to go about DCs, how to go with academic issues and everything. So that's